My name is Kwaku, and I used to think ghosts were stories told to scare children. Just things passed around in hushed whispers, like the smell of disinfectant that lingers long after the patients have left. But that was before I took the night shift job at the old St. Enoch Hospital before I found the hidden ward no one talks about. It started like any other desperate decision. I had just been laid off from my warehouse job. Rent was overdue, my little sister's school fees needed paying, and my phone was buzzing with messages I couldn't face reading. The city was cruel to those who fell behind, and I had no family backing me, just survival instincts and stubborn pride. So when I saw the listing on a forgotten job board titled Night Custodian, St. Enoch Hospital, urgent, immediate hire, hazard pay, I didn't even hesitate. I didn't care that the ad looked like it hadn't been updated in years. I clicked, applied, and got a call back within an hour. They told me the job was simple cleaning, occasional front desk watch, some camera monitoring, no patients. The hospital had been decommissioned 6 years ago, but the private owners needed someone to watch the place at night until it was converted into a commercial site. A few offices still ran upstairs, but the bottom floors were locked off. They promised good money, cash weekly, no taxes, no questions. It sounded too good to be true. It was. I arrived on a rainy Thursday night. The building was a relic tall, blocky, and grim, with stained concrete walls and flickering exterior lights. The front gate groaned like it hadn't moved in years when I pushed it open. There was no security guard, no welcoming committee. Just a short message texted to my phone. Enter through back door, clock in, someone will meet you. The back entrance was worse half. The lights were broken, the sign above the door missing letters. I could barely read emergency enter _CE, scratched into the rusted frame. Inside, it was dead quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind that wraps around your ears and presses into your skull. The kind that feels ... Watched the reception desk was still intact, though dusty. A black and white monitor flickered on behind it, showing several camera angles, some clear, some stacky. I could make out long, dark hallways, empty stairwells, and dim-lit patient rooms. Then a voice startled me. You, the new night custodian. I turned. A man stood there. Pale, thin eyes, sunken like he hadn't slept in days. He wore a gray uniform like mine, only older. He didn't extend a hand. Name's Collins, he said. I train you for tonight. Then you're on your own. Moved like he wanted to be anywhere but here. And I soon understood why. The shift was supposed to be easy. There were 3 main floors. I had access to the upper admin offices, mostly abandoned. The main lobby and patient rooms empty, supposedly, and the supply wing. Collins gave me a flashlight, a cracked walkie-talkie, and a crude paper map that looked hand-drawn. This place is old, he said. The blueprints changed a lot over the years. You'll get used to it. He walked me through my rounds, checked the main hallway, make sure no vagrants had broken in, wipe down any spills in the stairwells, lock any doors left ajar. He paused. When we got near the east hallway on the ground floor, don't go past this point, he said. His voice dropped a little. These doors are sealed for a reason. 'Twas a metal double door with a red sticker across it. Under maintenance, do not enter. The lock was rusted shut, but I noticed a faint boot scuff on the bottom of the door, like someone had kicked it recently. What's in there? I asked. He didn't look at me. Just don't, he said. And if you hear noises coming from that direction, ignore them. They're not for you. He walked away without another word. My training was over. That first night, I tried to keep busy. I wiped down walls, checked dusty office desks, and radioed back every hour like I was told. I kept the walkie clipped close to my collar, even though it only crackled occasionally. Collins's voice cutting in with deadpan updates before going silent again. By 2 a.m., I was exhausted. The vending machines were empty, the tap water smelled like iron, and my phone had no signal in most parts of the building. I sat down at the lobby desk and watched the cameras, dozing. Then something caught my eye. Camera 6 East hallway. It flickered, then cleared. A light was on. I sat up straight. The east wing was sealed. The lights weren't even supposed to have power. But there it was, a flickering fluorescent light above the door I'd been told to avoid. And underneath it, movement. At first I thought it was just the screen glitching, but then I saw it clear as day. A figure, small, moving across the hall just beyond the double doors. It looked like a child, dressed in something white, dragging something behind them. The feed cut out. I rubbed my eyes, blinking hard. My chest was pounding. Was I seeing things? I picked up the walkie. Collins, you there? Static, again. Collins, this is Kweku. You see, camera 6. Nothing. Just dead air. I stared at the blank feed. The light was still flickering. I knew I shouldn't check it. I really did. But something inside me, a curiosity I couldn't explain, pulled me toward that hallway. The air was colder as I approached the east wing. My boots echoed on the tile floor. The hallway lights were dim, and the ones leading to the sealed door had burned out completely. I used my flashlight, though the beam flickered too. When I reached the double doors, the sticker was still there. But the metal latch was broken. Wide open, my skin crawled. I pushed the door slightly. It creaked open with a reluctant groan. Inside, the hallway was completely dark except for one flickering light far down at the end. The air smelled like old chemicals and rusted metal. I took one step in. Then another, my flashlight flickered, and then died completely. I stood there in complete silence. That's when I heard it. A giggle, soft, childlike, coming from just around the corner. My breath caught, then footsteps. Not mine. Bare feet slapping softly on the tile. I backed up, heart pounding in my throat, as I reached the threshold again. A loud clang echoed from deep inside, like something metallic fell. I ran. I didn't sleep after my shift ended. When morning came, Collins was already gone. The back door was unlocked. Plain envelope with cash sat on the front desk. No note, just money. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe a vagrant had slipped through. Maybe I imagined it all too much horror in my head from those old YouTube videos. And Reddit posts, hospitals are creepy places. That's all. But then came the second night, and the whispering started. I didn't want to go back. After that first night, every cell in my body told me to walk away, disappear, find another job, even beg if I had to. But when I opened the envelope, they'd left me. Something changed. It was twice what they'd promised. Not only that, the second envelope showed up at my door. No return address. Just my name, written in bold pen, and a neat stack of cash inside. A note scribbled in scratchy handwriting said, "You did well. Same shift tonight." I should have run. Instead, I bought groceries. Paid 2 months' rent in advance. Sent some to my sister in school. Money made the fear feel like a luxury I couldn't afford. That second night, I showed up early. The hospital felt quieter, if that was even possible. The rain from the night before had stopped, but the sky was heavy, swollen with gray clouds. There was no Collins this time. No training. Just the cameras, the silence, and the creak of every door I opened. I decided to avoid the East Wing. No questions, no curiosity. Just clean what I was paid to clean and stay by the cameras. By midnight, I was making rounds near the old ICU corridor. That's when I first heard it. A whisper, it came from the vent above my head. At first, it was faint. Indistinct murmurs, like, Someone talking to themselves far away. I paused, shining my flashlight toward the grate. Nothing. Just dust. Then it got clearer. Help. I froze. I leaned in. The whispering continued. Voices layered, childlike, grown, male, female, all at once. None of them made full sentences, just fragments. Too dark. She won't wake up. Don't leave again. Cold. I stepped back. Every hair on my arms stood on end. My breathing was loud. Too loud, I radioed in. This is Kweku. I'm in the ICU hall. Hearing something from the vent system. No reply, just static. Then a different voice crackled through. Not Collins, just a soft voice, like it was trying to mimic human speech. You're not supposed to be here. I dropped the walkie. Back at the front desk, I rewound the security footage. Camera 3 ICU corridor. Nothing at first. Then a flicker. The screen went dark for a few seconds. When it came back on, I saw myself, standing, looking up, and then something behind me. In the reflection on the metal 4-pole, a pale face. Eyes open too wide. No mouth. Just standing silently behind me. When I turned in the video, it disappeared. I spun around in real time. Nothing there. I didn't go back to that hall for the rest of the night. The third night was when things really started changing. I arrived to find a note taped to the front desk monitor. They remember you now. No signature. Just that line. The handwriting was the same as the one from the envelope. I sat there, breathing through my teeth. They remember you. Was this a prank? Some sick test? Was I being recorded for some twisted social experiment? But then why the voices? The movement? The face? I needed to see more. Needed answers. So, I did the one thing I told myself not to do. I pulled out the old map Collins had given me and scanned the lower blueprints. Something stood out this time. A label scribbled faintly near the elevator. Shaft, Sub B, Restricted Ward sealed 1996. Sub B. I had only ever seen 3 floors. Basement was supposed to be storage. But now that I stared at the elevator panel, I realized something. There were scuff marks around the B key. Faint, ... But fresh, someone had been using it. I waited until 2:33 a.m. Then I pushed the button. The elevator groaned. Old gears clicked to life. The doors creaked open like a reluctant mouth. I stepped in. The lights flickered, then dimmed. I pressed B. Nothing happened. Then I noticed a key slot next to it, faded, hidden under a cracked plastic flap. I didn't have a key, but someone had scratched around the panel like they'd forced it open before. I pulled out a pen from the desk, twisted it hard into the slot. Clicked the light beside the B lit up red. The elevator shook and began descending. The air grew colder as I went down, longer than any basement should have taken. Finally, the doors opened to total darkness. No emergency lights. No exit signs, just the smell of wet concrete and rust. And a silence that was thick. Like it was listening. I stepped out, my flashlight barely reached the end of the hall. Everything looked untouched, like it hadn't been disturbed in decades. Gurneys sat half-covered with sheets. Papers were scattered across the floor. Broken stretchers leaned against cracked walls. I turned a corner and saw something that stopped me. A hospital bed, still made, and on it someone lying perfectly still. A woman, pale, wearing an old hospital gown. 4 tubes dangling from her arm, like strings that had long since stopped working. She was awake, staring at me, not blinking, not breathing either. I froze. She didn't move, didn't speak. Then her mouth opened slowly. "Kweku," she whispered. She knew my name. I ran. I didn't even look back. I slammed the elevator button over and over until the doors opened and I jumped inside. But the elevator didn't move. Lights went out. My flashlight began to flicker. Then I heard it. A voice, low, soft, and impossibly close. "You came back." Just like before. I turned, and the elevator doors were gone, replaced with a white wall. As if the elevator had never opened at all. I screamed, pounded the wall, hit every button. Nothing, and then the lights returned. I was back on the main floor. The doors opened. Everything looked normal, as if none of it had happened. That morning, there was a new envelope, more cash, and a new note. "You're getting closer." I didn't sleep the next day. How could I? I couldn't stop seeing her face, the woman on the hospital bed. Her lips barely moved, yet she said my name. Her eyes stared through me like she'd been waiting. Not for someone, but for me. If she knew I'd eventually come, was it a dream, a hallucination? Maybe the hospital's stale air and isolation were getting to me, but the cash in my pocket said otherwise. The elevator ride, the hidden floor, it all happened. I wasn't crazy, not yet. By the time the fourth night came, I was ready. This time, I brought a small voice recorder and a second flashlight. I even left a voicemail for a friend before heading out, saying if I didn't text by morning, they should come looking. I didn't know what I expected. Police? Paranormal investigators. I just didn't want to vanish without a trace. The hospital looked darker than usual. The back door creaked louder. The hallway lights barely worked. The front desk cameras had all frozen, each monitor stuck on one frame. A single image, the east hallway, and that flickering light. Again, as if it never turned off, I went to the elevator immediately. The B button was still faintly lit, almost as if it remembered me. I inserted the makeshift key again. It clicked. The elevator shuddered as it descended. But this time, it stopped midway. Not on the main floor. Not in the basement. Somewhere between. The doors creaked open. Before me stretched a long hallway, darker than the ones before, lined with sealed doors on each side. A faded sign on the wall read, "Ward 9B, restricted access." It wasn't on any of the blueprints Collins gave me. It wasn't even on the building's emergency map. This place shouldn't exist, but it did. And it wanted me. The floor smelled different, like bleach and something rotting underneath it. The air buzzed, not with sound, but with pressure, like standing beneath a storm that never struck. I stepped slowly. My flashlight beam bounced along the metal numbers on each door. 901, 902, ... 903. ... Most rooms were sealed shut. One had deep claw marks near the bottom. Another had a nameplate scratched off violently. Then, room 909 was different. Its door was slightly open. I pushed it wider. Inside was a perfectly preserved patient room bed. Maid lights dimmed. Everything sterile, and again, she was there. The same woman from before, sitting upright this time, head tilted. "I knew you'd return," she said. My breath caught in my throat. "Who are you?" She didn't blink. "You were one of us." Before, I took a step back. "I've never been here before." She smiled. Slow, sad, not in this life. Then she pointed toward the far corner of the room, where an old file cabinet stood beneath a flickering wall sconce. I opened it. Inside were patient records, yellowed, water-stained, but legible. Each file had a name, and one of them was mine. Kwaku Mensah admitted. August 13th, 2001, Ward 9B, status unreleased. My vision blurred. My legs weakened. This had to be a mistake. I was just a cleaner, a worker. I wasn't a patient. I never even lived in this city back then. But then memory flashed. A sharp, stabbing one. A corridor. A cold table, screams, my screams. Something being done to me. I don't understand. I whispered. You weren't supposed to remember, the woman said. But now that you do, they'll come for you. Her body convulsed violently then. Collapsed, I rushed to her side, but she was gone. Cold and in her place. Where her head had rested was something horrifying. A sealed surgical jar. Inside, a human eye. Floating, watching me, the alarms suddenly blared across the ward. Red emergency lights flickered. A metallic hiss filled the air, like steam escaping from giant pipes. Then came the footsteps. Not just one, dozens, heavy, dragging. Some quick like a crowd rushing toward me from all angles. I ran. I didn't stop to shut doors. I didn't look back. The hallway stretched longer than before. Room numbers repeating, 900, 901, 902. And then, just like that, Ty was back. In the elevator, the doors closed behind me without a sound. The G button was already lit. When I emerged into the main floor, everything was calm again. No alarms. No lights. No noise. But the cameras were recording again. Every screen showed me, just me, standing in the middle of the hallway. And every angle, every single one showed someone standing behind me. A man in a doctor's coat, mask, gloves, scalpel in hand. And just before the footage cut to static, his hand reached toward my neck. On the desk was another envelope, but this one wasn't sealed. Inside was a single photo, an old, grainy image of a young boy in a hospital bed. Unmistakably. Me, wires in his arms, tubes in his nose, eyes open, but empty. Written on the back in the same scratchy handwriting. You were never discharged. I didn't go home after the fourth night. I couldn't. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. My body was soaked with sweat. Every shadow looked like it might blink. And the photo sat heavy in my jacket pocket like it was burning a hole through the fabric. How was that possible? I hadn't been in a hospital as a child, at least. I didn't remember being in one. But that face in the photo, fragile, pale, eyes vacant, was mine. Down to the scar beneath the left eye. I always thought I got from a fall at age 10. Except in that picture. I looked younger. I ended up crashing at an old friend's apartment. Across town, Kwame was the kind of guy who never asked too many questions. I gave him the basics: bad dreams, work stress, needed to lie low for a few days. He nodded, handed me a warm beer, and offered me the couch. But the nightmares followed. That night, I dreamed of the ward again. Room 909. The woman, the scalpel. I saw myself strapped to a gurney, doctors arguing over something I couldn't hear. A bright light, then a voice, cold, raspy. He's still awake. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, and standing in the corner of the room, just barely visible in the moonlight, was a shadow. Still watching. When I blinked, it was gone. I tried to quit, called the number from the envelope. Disconnected, I went back to the hospital during the day, thinking I could at least return the keys and walk away clean. But the building was sealed. Boards nailed to the front doors. A city notice posted. Unsafe structure, entry forbidden, dated from 3 months ago. 3 months. But I'd been working inside all week. I asked the shopkeeper across the street if he'd seen anyone go in or out of the hospital recently. He looked confused. Son, that place has been closed for years. No one's used that entrance since the fire. Fire? What fire? What fire? I asked. He looked at me like I was mad. You don't know? That old wing burned down back in 2001. Basement ward. Some illegal experiment. Real hush-hush. They say people died down there. Patients that weren't even listed on records. My throat went dry. The same year listed on my file. That night, back at Kwam's place, things got worse. It started with the mirrors. The bathroom mirror no longer showed my reflection. Not exactly it moved like me, but a second slower. Like it had to think about what to do next, and its eyes were wrong. No pupils, just black. Later, I heard whispers through the vents in the ceiling, same as the hospital. He remembers. We can't let him go. At 3:12 a.m., the fire alarm started blaring on its own. But there was no fire, just smoke. Coming from inside the walls, I ran. I left Kwame a note and vanished. I had one last place to go. The archives, the city's public. Records office was cold and dimly lit, buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and dust. But after a few hours of searching with shaking fingers and mounting dread, I found it. Seen Enoch Hospital Basement Ward. Incident Report. 2001. Fire damage. No official cause. 10 confirmed deaths, but more disturbing. 6 unidentified bodies. Unregistered. Unnamed. Never claimed. A side note in the margins, possible black site experimentation. Psychotropic drug trial failure. Subjects were labeled unresponsive. Mental degradation consistent with induced possession symptoms. Possession? I read it again. And again. Then I saw a name scribbled on the final page. Dr. Elias Arniarco, lead. Researcher. The name sent a chill down my spine, because just a few hours earlier, in my dream, I had heard someone say, Dr. Nyarko is watching. When I returned to my apartment just to grab some clothes, I found the door already open. Someone had been there. Everything was untouched, except the walls. They had been written on, over and over and over. Discharged too late, in jagged black marker, all across every wall, ceiling, even the inside of the fridge, and on the mirror, written backward so it could only be read in reflection. He's inside you now. I started hearing him after that. The doctor, sometimes in my head, sometimes outside of it. He would whisper things when I tried to sleep, twist my memories when I tried to think clearly, when I passed by my own reflection. Sometimes it would smile without me moving. I saw flashbacks, needles, metal tables, screams I swore I'd never made, and I began waking up in places I didn't remember going to. Once I found myself standing in the middle of a cemetery. No shoes, no phone. Just a hospital wristband around my wrist I hadn't worn in years. I called every number I could find related to St. Enoch Hospital. None existed anymore. I even searched for Dr. Elias Arne, RKO. Dead. Car crash. 2002. But one Seitan obscure blog for ghost hunters and urban explorers claimed his body was never found. Just the wrecked car. A commenter posted anonymously. Some say he never died. He just moved into his patients. That's when it hit me. I hadn't just found the hidden ward. I'd been part of it. Whatever they did down there. Whatever experiments Dr. Nyorko ran. I was one of the kids. One of the unregistered. Maybe I had escaped. Or been buried in lies. And now I had returned. Drawn back, because a piece of me had never really left. A piece of him, that night, sat on my floor, surrounded by candles. Mirror covered. Every light off, I stared into the tape recorder. I'd left running on the third night, the one I brought into Ward 9B. I had never listened to it until now. But as it played, I heard more than just footsteps, more than breathing. I heard my own voice, whispering things I never remembered saying. And in the last minute of the recording, there was a different voice entirely. Gravelly, slow. You were never discharged, Kwaku. You're just waking up. It began raining again the night I went back. Not the usual city drizzle, but a full-blown thunderstorm. Lightning snapped across the sky like veins of fire. Thunder groaned like something ancient turning in its sleep. I stood at the gates of St. Enoch's Hospital for what I knew would be the last time. The boards on the front doors were gone. The city notice. Torn off, as if the building had decided to reopen for me. Inside, the air was heavier than ever. The same fluorescent lights blinked. Overhead, flickering in a strange rhythm maze, though in time with a heartbeat. My heartbeat, no cameras. No walkie-talkie. No money. I didn't come to clock in this time. I came to remember, to finish. What had started? The elevator was already waiting for me. Doors open, humming softly like it was breathing. The B button glowed bright red. I stepped in without hesitation. There was no key this time, no button to push. The doors shut on their own. The lights flickered, and the elevator began to sink faster than before. Much faster. I felt the air drop from my lungs as the ground fell away beneath me. When the doors opened, it wasn't just a ward I saw. It was a whole other world. The walls were warped, pulsing like flesh. Lights overhead sputtered out, replaced by dim lanterns swaying from invisible strings. The scent of antiseptic had curdled into something rotten like sour milk and decaying skin. I stepped into ward K9B, but it had changed. This was not a hospital anymore. It was a tomb. And yet, I heard voices, dozens of them, whispers slithering through the air like smoke, some calling my name, some calling his. Elias. At the end of the hallway stood a door. A single door, wrapped in black plastic sheeting, bound by chains that hung. From the ceiling, a rusted plaque above it read, "Experimental Theater, Restricted Access." Knew what I'd find inside. I knew I wouldn't come back out the same, but I had to go in. The room beyond was a surgical amphitheater, a wide, circular chamber with tiered benches climbing toward the ceiling. Everything was drenched in shadows, and in the center under, a single white light stood an operating table, empty until it wasn't. I blinked, and suddenly, there I was, lying on the table myself, a younger version. Eyes wide, mouth gagged. Arms strapped down, and standing over me was Dr. Elias Nayarko. Or something that used to be him. His lab coat was soaked in blood. His face flickered like a glitch in a video game. Sometimes a man, sometimes a skull, sometimes... "Me, you've returned," he said. "I never left," I whispered. He smiled. "You never woke up." The walls began to bleed. Red lines ran like rivers down every surface. The whispering grew louder. Faces appeared in the observation seats, pale, ghostly, twisted with pain. The other patients, the forgotten ones. "They remember you," Elias said, stepping closer. "Because you were the only one who got away. You were the final test. The success, but your mind fractured. You forgot." I backed away. "Why bring me back now?" He tilted his head. "I didn't. You came back. Something inside you needed to know the truth. You were searching for what made you different, stronger. That wasn't survival, Kwiku. That was me." I felt it then, the pressure in my skull, the weight in my chest, the darkness curling in my veins. He wasn't lying. Something had always been there. A second presence. And it was waking up. The young version of me on the table began to scream. The other patients began to chant in one terrifying voice. "Discharged too late. Discharged too late. Discharged too late." The lights exploded. The walls cracked open. The floor fell away. And suddenly, I was falling, spiraling flashes of my past tearing through my vision. A white room, needles, cold hands, voices arguing. My mother crying. Oh, a man in a mask whispering into my ear. "Heal. Forget everything until he comes back." I awoke in darkness. Concrete beneath me. Somewhere deep below the hospital. No lights. No door. Just a mirror. A mirror lying on the floor. I crawled toward it and looked into it, and what I saw wasn't me. It was Elias, smiling from inside my eyes. Now I sit here, in a hospital bed, the same ward, but this time the roles have changed. They say I'm delusional, that I broke into the abandoned St. Enoch Hospital and caused a scene, that I injured myself, that I scribbled on the walls. They show me photos, footage, a hospital that's been locked for years. But I know better, because at night the vents whisper, the lights flicker in Morse code, and the mirrors still smile back at me. They think I'm a patient, but I'm not. I'm the final subject, the only one who survived the experiments, the one who walked out of Ward 9B carrying a ghost inside him. And one day, when the hospital reopens again, I'll be the one waiting behind the door. Thanks for watching. Hoped you liked it. If you watched till the end, please comment "and" so that we could understand you were with us till the end. As well as, please let us know where are you watching from. Before leaving, please hit the subscribe button, comment your thought, and share with your nearest and dearest one. See you in the next one. Until to the next one, stay happy. Goodbye.